Welcome to your source for research, innovation, news, insights, and commentary. This is Research Business Daily Report, where we are proudly sponsored this week by Socratic Technologies, whose proprietary tools and methodologies tackle marketing complexities so that you can make more confident business decisions. We've talked several times over the years about Pollster's continuing challenges in assessing public moods and attitudes. The public is changing, and so are polling capabilities. But another recent example of some shortfalls came from Canada a few weeks ago, when political polling firm Campaign Research put its reputation on the line by conducting 3 different polls about an upcoming Ontario election, and it took place just a day or two before the provincial vote. Live interview phone calls were done, so was IVR, and online panel polling, and each had somewhat different results. Now, here are the final election results from Election Day. It showed the Liberals at 39%, Progressive Conservatives at 31%, New Democrats at 24%, and the Greens at 5%. These results were quite surprising. A late surge by the Liberals really making a big difference. So, all 3 of the polls done by Campaign Research actually underestimated a late surge by the Liberal Party and overestimated the number that would be put up eventually by the Progressive Conservatives, as you can see here. Campaign Research Principal Greg Dunlop noted IVR's historical accuracy in his work, but his online samples tending over time to overstate the strength of the New Democrats. Think what you will about this particular test, but also consider that there was much concern, even outrage, about all the pre-election polling work after this election's surprising results. Next, Innerscope Chairman Carl Marci, a highly respected neuroscience expert who, in his capacity as someone who gets in front of clients quite a bit and therefore needs to understand the research industry, is not surprisingly very gung-ho about neuroscience's short and long-term adoption, and he's not afraid to be specific about where it might really fit well. You're going to hear that, and I think a lot of other things worth your attention from our recent conversation. How close do you think we are to neuroscience being a very essential piece in research for companies large and small?
I think we're very close. One of the things that we've all learned as an industry over the last few years, is that there's no one single measure or no one single tool that does everything. And this is why, at Innerscope, we've embraced integration from the beginning. And so we think that multiple tools, whether it's a combination of biometrics or eye tracking or facial coding, implicit measures, I mentioned the fMRI study we did with the Super Bowl to you in the past. It's really about integrating all those tools with clients to get to the right answer to their business question. Now, there's a second part of the integration, and I think this is really important. It's integrating the neuroscience tools with traditional measures, right? I think we've all learned that talking to people's conscious brain still matters, but it's only one part of the story. If you want a complete view of consumers, you've got to use both the non-conscious and the conscious measures. And that's why I think companies are really starting to embrace these tools as insights that you couldn't get any other way begin to emerge over and over again.
As you say, we're very close to it becoming a must-have. Is it going to be affordable?
Well, I think that's the question, because people's budgets aren't getting bigger, and as you report every day, there are new and new tools for market researchers to use. So affordability is key, and that's why we've developed this Census kiosk platform, where on a single platform you can actually measure biometrics, facial coding, eye tracking, and self-report in a mall or movie theater environment. So we've taken the typical price of a 30-second ad test that was 5 years ago, and we've cut it down by 2/3. And so for around $10,000, you can get all those measures per ad. I think that begins to get to a point where you'd be silly not to do that.
Okay. Especially since there are so many ads these days, from what I've heard from other people, that go untested before they get rolled out.
Well, I think that's dangerous. But we live in a world where a lot of decisions are still made on instinct, despite the fact that there's so much data out there. And what I like to tell clients is, if I could give you the eyes and the gut of your audience to replace your eyes and your gut, wouldn't you want to have that? And if I could do that affordably in a way that adds value and gives you those actual insights, that allows you to make better communications, the ROI on that is tremendous, and I think really valuable for our clients.
What have you perhaps changed in your sales pitch in the last year or two about what you can bring to the party that you may have just learned in the last year or two that is so compelling that you really want to bring it before that prospective client?
And that is integrating different tools, understanding their strengths, and being able to do that affordably to get the best insights. And that's just using the neuroscience tools: biometrics, eye tracking, facial coding, fMRI, implicit measures, whatever that is. And then the second part of integration is combining that with what people say, whether that's through a quantitative survey or a qualitative focus group. Those two pieces of integration are really critical. And my sense is clients are really responding and resonating with that. They're like, oh, finally, I don't have to pick one tool, or I don't have to pick one measure. Someone's going to help me bring that all together for a comprehensive view of consumers. I think that's really exciting.
Do all of those elements play a critical role in every instance, or are there some that are more important here than they are for that particular application?
Totally depends on the study, Bob. Totally depends on the study. So when we're talking about TV ad testing, we really rely on the biometrics for that ranking of the emotional depth of response and engagement. We use eye tracking and facial coding for diagnostics, and then we use self-report to see what messages broke through and make sure that some of those traditional key metrics like purchase intent and recall are there. That's a lot of different measures. We'll also do a shelf set study for package and findability, and we might only use eye tracking. Or we might do a focus group and only do facial coding and combine that with the qualitative. So It really depends on what we're studying.
Okay, last question. As we get to the point where it becomes basically a must-have, an essential piece of your research toolbox, what are the 3 or 4 or 6 types of utilizations that it is going to be most necessary to apply?
Sure. I think you start with TV ad testing because it still costs an awful lot of money to produce these ads, and it costs a lot of money to put them on air. You got to get that right. So I think early stage animatics, we do a ton of work in that space where we can inform the development and even finished ad best practices. Very, very critical. That's number one. I think number two, we're doing more and more product development work. How do you take early concepts and products? How do you take late stage concepts and products and make sure that the positioning is just right? The third area is package. Big investment to change a package for any company, and it's the first thing a lot of people see. And using eye tracking and biometrics combined with self-report can really get you a long way in the package world. The next one is media. We do a ton of work with the networks and their agencies because understanding how people view TV while they have a second screen, for example, and when their head snaps up or goes down, and what engages them on that second screen versus the first screen, really making sense of all that takes the kind of sophisticated measures that we have and can bring to bear. And then finally, shopper insights in the retail environment. Bringing people into stores with head-mounted eye trackers, measuring their emotional experience throughout that journey. Those are the kinds of areas that, from our perspective, clients are getting a tremendous amount of value.
I'm sure Carl would love to hear from any of you in the RBDR audience, and you can shoot him an email at cmarci@innerscope.com. That's your Research Business Daily Report, sponsored by Socratic Technologies, whose proprietary tools and methodologies tackle marketing complexity so that you can make more confident business decisions. We hope you have a great research day, and of course, that you'll be back and join us right back here tomorrow.